I repeat, all of us have opinions, and all of them are equally worthless. What is important in this business is not your opinion, but a judgment and your capacity to make judgments. And judgments are ideas that are arrived at by taking an opinion and rubbing it up against evidence and rubbing it up against an argument and developing the capacity to argue with people who are colleagues, who are collaborative with you. There's a wonderful book written by a fellow named Graff called Clueless in Academe. Is that the way you pronounce it? And he argues that the reason why so many of our young people don't do well is they don't know how to argue. And he starts the book off talking about a skit from, any of y'all know who Monty Python is? Okay, there's a wonderful skit that Monty Python does called The Argument Clinic, where a guy goes in, he says, I want to pay for an argument. And they say to him, go down to room 12. And he goes into room 12, and he immediately starts getting insulted, okay? And after being insulted for about 5 or 6 minutes, he says, wait a minute, I didn't come here to get insulted, because the guy starts calling him all kinds of names. And he says, I came in here for an argument. Oh, that's room 12A, okay? And so then he goes into room 12A, and immediately there's contradictions. The guy goes back and forth, and he starts to contradict him. He said, wait a minute, I didn't come here for contradictions to be told off. I came here for an argument. Oh, you're in the wrong room. Okay, that's in room 12B. Okay, so basically the point of the book is that we don't know what an argument is. We think arguing with somebody is insulting them or contradicting with them or disagreeing with them. No, an argument is about developing a hypothesis based upon observations. Young people have an innate ability to develop hypothesis all the time. They are observing all the time. So we have to draw on that innate ability, that innate curiosity, that innate imagination, and then hone it and develop it and inculcate in them the ability to make distinctions about good arguments and bad arguments. And we use all kinds of tests of evidence, okay? And so they learn how to construct an argument and test out an argument, and then learn how to make concessions in an argument, okay? When they learn how to argue, they learn how to do well, no matter what their test scores say. In fact, there's no relationship between test scores and the ability to argue well and effectively, which is why so many of our schools are failing our children, because they've adopted this horrible model which was developed by the Billionaire Boys Club, okay? This horrible model which is developed out of the market model in economics, which assumes all kinds of atomistic assumptions, which I don't have the time to tell you where they come from or why they're wrong, except if you want to read a book which argues it fairly effectively, read a book by another Harvard professor named Stephen Marjolin called The Dismal Science, okay? He's an economics professor here at Harvard, and he makes the case pretty well how a lot of that kind of thinking of the market model undermines our ability to learn, to develop. And so I'd like to leave you with a couple of ideas, and I realize I'm going to be violating the boundaries, but forgive me, okay? Learning is about formation. Formation requires reconstructing and deconstructing ideas based upon experience and relationality, based upon experience. So we have to have the capacity to unlearn. One of my best professors always told me that his job is to be an intellectual garbage collector, okay? His job was to sort out the bad ideas and bad information. All organizing, excuse me, I'm getting a little hoarse, is disorganizing and reorganizing. In order for the process of disorganizing to take place, there has to be an agent, a person who has the capacity to agitate. Agitation is central to organizing. It means stirring your imagination and your curiosity. There's a big difference between agitation and irritation. A lot of organizers are real good at irritating people, okay? They don't probe, they pry. And the difference between good agitation and irritation is that you get permission from the other person to agitate them, which means that they trust you, they think you have some ideas, they think you're on their side. Now, if we can ever learn how to do that well, then we can not only create really good learning institutions, we can also create really good democratic institutions, because the real purpose of public education in our society is to teach the habits and practices which are requisite for the creation of a democratic culture. Ernesto Cortes didn't say that. The Supreme Court of the United States said that there is one institution which has the obligation to teach the habits and practices and understanding which is necessary to make democracy work. It's not the church, it's not the family, it's not the corporation, it's not the business, it's the public school. That's why we have a public school, not private school system. If we want to teach literacy and numeracy, we can have private schools. If we want to teach citizenship, we create public schools in order to make democracy work. Thank you very, very much.